Tonight, Ethiopia's Muslim community angered and fighting against the police as they are robbed of their constitutional and religious rights, and a recap of Shangri-La's dialogue as allies and adversaries come together in an attempt to resolve world disputes. Later in the show, as she runs for Toronto's mayoral candidacy, Bahira Abdusalam explains the ins and outs of running a campaign.
The random selection process, we are not sure how it works. So I think that there is something, it is not really perfect.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I am Catherine Bullock. A disturbing audio is circulating on social media where a school teacher in Edmonton, Alberta, can be heard berating her Muslim students for skipping Pride activities. The nearly 2-minute-long outburst includes remarks that the students do not belong to Canada. The Londonderry teacher tells her Muslim students that missing Pride activities is not acceptable. The teacher compares the absence of her Muslim students during Pride activities compared to the respect shown by other students to them during Ramadan. She can be heard saying, if the Muslim students want respect, it goes both ways. She says if the Muslim students do not agree with same-sex marriage, they, quote, can't be Canadian. She comments that if the students agree with Ugandan law, which does not recognize gay rights, then they do not belong in Canada. Edmonton's public schools communication consultant has confirmed the authenticity of the audio recording. The school administration has since apologized for the behavior. The Council on American Islamic Relations, one of the largest Muslim civil rights organizations in the US, is calling on the Biden administration to prevent Ethiopia's government from demolishing the country's mosques. The news comes after the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs of the Oromia regional state said 19 mosques were demolished in Shaga city. The unrest has killed 2 people. The police have arrested 19 people. Oromia is a regional state in Ethiopia. Last week, the Oromia Region Communication Bureau said in a press conference that it is running a campaign demolishing illegal mosques in more than 600 cities across the region. It defended the process as constitutional and legal. The Oromia Supreme Council is urging the regional government to immediately stop the demolitions. It is asking to solve the problem through dialogue. The Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs of Ethiopia has sent a letter to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed seeking a solution to the conflict. Asia's largest security summit has revealed a number of thorny issues that world leaders are trying to solve. The Shangri-La Dialogue was held this past weekend in Singapore. Discussions at the summit covered the most pressing security challenges, including the Ukraine war, South China Sea, and the Asian NATO. The Chinese and US defense ministers traded barbs all through the summit. On the Russia-Ukraine war, almost all speakers expressed concern about the war and its impact on the Asia-Pacific region. The US and the EU pressed down on with their demands for freedom of navigation and overflight in the South China Sea, vowing they would not back down on the issue. Beijing, in turn, asserted that it has indisputable sovereignty over the South China Sea islands. It says China will not be intimidated by the US. On the issue of an Asian NATO, the US defense minister stressed that the US and its allies are not going to create a NATO in the Indo-Pacific. He said the US is planning training activities with its friends from the East China Sea to the South China Sea to the Indian Ocean. The Chinese defense minister, in response, said that attempts to push for NATO-like alliances in the Asia-Pacific is a way of kidnapping regional countries. He warned that such moves endanger regional security and will only plunge the Asia-Pacific into conflicts. Please stay tuned. We will be right back after a short break. There are a dizzying number of candidates running to be the mayor of Toronto, 102 at today's count, and among them are a few Muslims. Advanced polls open tomorrow and election day is June 26. We talked to one candidate, Bahira Abdulsalam, on what it's like to campaign to be mayor of the largest city in Canada. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the show.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for interviewing me in this show. It's an honor.
We like to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada. That's exactly why we're here. So there are 102 candidates. Why have you decided to be one of them?
Well, I'm the first on the list, by the way. So I'm number one. Very, very lucky and honored to be at the top. So yeah, so I believe that I have the knowledge, the qualifications, and I believe that we really need more representations from Muslims and minorities in decision-making positions. So I decided to run to create a change in the system. We need more engineers and we need more professionals and we need more women and minorities and women, Muslim women in hijab. So
have you been out campaigning, knocking on doors, or how are you getting your message out?
Actually, I'm very active on social media, and I'm very active in connecting with people and attending events. And I go to mosques and I go to public events, and I'm also knocking on doors. So I'm very lucky to have volunteers joining me and very interested in supporting my campaign. So, and this is how I can deliver the message, by having more people joining and more people believing in this campaign and in me, that we can work together to create this change and to bring, to fix some of the major problems that we have in the city of Toronto.
I want to ask you about your program in a bit, but just in terms of knocking on doors or attending events and things, how are you experiencing any Islamophobia from the people that you're interacting with?
Actually, the public, I haven't really experienced any Islamophobia from the public. Some people, they just apologize. They are not interested in talking to me. And that's, for me, it's totally fine. Like, everyone is free to accept me or not. Some people are very excited and happy. The only thing that is really, I don't feel that it is going well, is the public debates. So I feel I'm excluded from many of the public debates. I don't think that it is the principles that a selection process is based on is really fair and just. So this is the only thing, and it's the most critical thing actually in this campaign.
I saw that there was a debate with the top 5 candidates. So obviously, if there are 102 people running, there are a lot of people being excluded. Do you tell us what these selection criterion are? How have they been making those decisions?
Okay, so let me tell you something. So they say, like, some of the organization or organizers of those debates, they say that we are selecting the top 5 based on polls. However, those polls are run, most of them, by private organizations, and with a selection process for the random selection process. We are not sure how it works. So I think that there is something, it is not really perfect by identifying those candidates as the top, knowing that before even making any polls, they were already introduced to the public as those are the top candidates. So I thought actually that probably because they are popular politicians, but there are other popular politicians outside of this list as well. So this is one thing. The other thing, yesterday I was in, there was the Black network. They were organizing a debate, and I thought maybe I would fit in. So I wasn't that Black, so I didn't fit. I I'm not that white. So I think there is something missing in our maybe community. We should organize like a Muslim debate and invite everyone. Like I don't think that this criteria of selection is fair and just. By the way, not the 102 candidates are really active. They are not sharing, most of them, their contacts. So there are much less than the 102. And it is not about me specifically. I believe that there are some qualified candidates. They need to have their voices heard. And this is how democracy works. We need to hear from everyone. And it is the job of the media to introduce, to make some effort to reach out to more people.
But we don't have it. This is a very short interview. We don't have long interviews on this show. So let's, in the last few minutes, just talk a little bit about your priorities. The debate candidates were asked, what will you do on your first day as mayor if elected? So let me throw that question to you. What would you do on your first day as mayor if elected?
Yeah, the first day as mayor, I am going to reach out and to the councillors and to review the system and make sure that everything is done properly, getting into the system, understanding the processes and the criteria and the review of the criteria. This is the most critical thing that needs to be done, and this is the first thing I'm gonna do.
Last year, there's a big controversy of what are called the strong mayor powers. So if you were mayor, would you use the strong mayor powers?
I believe this is undemocratic and this is considered dictatorship. I will never allow this to happen because the real power is listening to people and applying the majority, the rule of the majority. So what they really need and what the people are calling for, and this is the real power. I'm against the term like calling like a strong mayor power by like responding or listening to only 1/3 of the councillors. This is not democracy.
We don't have a lot of time left. We won't be able to go through all the issues. But in terms of the issues, the list I've seen includes things like property tax, a shortfall in the budget, housing, public safety, and transit. What's something that you want to prioritize, and what's your plan?
I want to prioritize the serving the most vulnerable people in our communities. Because this is something that they are normally neglected. So by saying most vulnerable people who are not able to find homes or shelter, people who are like our elderly, our disabled people, those will be the top priority that I will be working to help. And definitely I will be working with the business owners, with the technology organizations to bring up technology to the city in order to be to bridge the budget gap and bring.
If you want to help the vulnerable and you want to do services, would you raise the property taxes to pay for those?
So I cannot say that it is something. There are many ways to strengthen our economy other than raising the property tax. But raising the tax, I will never raise the tax for everyone. So probably for very very high value of home ownership, probably I will consider raising the property tax. But for proper homeowners who are not really small homeowners, I will not do that. And I will consider also the renters. This is something that I think it's not really there isn't a lot of focus on renters, but I want to improve the services for renters and to help them because they are struggling also with the corporations that are renting, helping them.
Well, I'm afraid we're out of time for the interview, but we wish you well for your campaign and your candidacy. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for watching. Sound Vision, which produces this news program, is a not-for-profit organization, and we need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on the broadcast or go to our website muslimnetwork.tv to make a donation now so that we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.